So once you get to Blogger, you should already be authenticated and just log in with whichever Google account you want to be recognized as. You can probably even set it up so that they're all connected and blah blah blah. But I mean, like, why, you know, you don't have enough passwords to remember, you know. Now, what happens to your CIT email addresses once you leave? I imagine they would still work. I just wonder what happens in terms of if you forget your password or something. Do you have to like fly to Cork to, you know, get it reset? You know. Anyway, so here we are in Blogger at Create a New Blog. And the first two things you need to set the name of your blog. I'm just going to call mine Just for the Crack. This can be pretty much anything, and you can change it at your leisure later. The web address should not have any spaces in it. And that needs to be unique, so you'd want to be the only person with that particular one. So if I do Just for the Crack, I suspect that's already gone. Just for the crack, man. Okay. And then you can pick whichever template you want. You can change the style later, and you can change the title later. You don't want to be changing the URL though. Also, pick something that you'll be comfortable with in 5 years' time.
I bet my blog is taken.
You know? Okay. And create blog. And then if you click on those little pages there, you can go to the settings and various bits and bobs. Now in due course I'll explain pretty much everything in here. But for today there's one or two settings I need you to set. Interesting. Okay. So the title is here, and you're free to enter a description if you want. What I'll do now is I will go through this just slow enough for you to come with if you want, or you can just sit back and watch and do it later, whichever you prefer. But I probably won't go so slow that I'll make sure that everyone is up to speed with us. So try to keep up if you want, and try not to get distracted by the interesting things going on around you. So you can have the title there, you can put in a description if you want. We don't need to do any of that. And this here then is the URL. This is the web address. So this is what you'll be emailing to me in a minute. The URL of your blog. Now by default, you are the author of your own blog, but you can add other authors if you want. It may happen that you're doing a group project and there's a couple of you in the group and you want to use a blog to document the work as you go. So one of you could set up the blog and then allow the other group members to be authors of that blog. So that'd be really, really useful. But only one of you would be the real owner. The rest of you might have admin privileges if you're granted them, but you wouldn't be the owner. You can also set who can read your blog. You can restrict that. So sometimes students are working on a group project. They make all of the members of the group authors, allow all of the members of the group to read the blog and the lecturer. And so then it's quite private then. But your blogs are going to be public. So you want to leave that setting just the way it is. You can specify how many posts you allow per page. That's not a big deal. Now, inside in settings, posts and comments, there's a thing there, show images with lightbox. That's so unimportant, I'm not even going to explain to you what it does, but I do want you to set it to no, because it makes things easier for me later. But I won't even explain it, it's that unimportant. Next up then is the comments. And like I was saying in class today, people can add comments to your web page. You can restrict who can add comments. So you can have it completely anonymous, you can make them log in some way, or you can even specify individual people who can make comments.
So you say showcase image black box set to no?
No. No. Comment moderation you should set to always. What that does is it allows you to vet comments before they get published. So if someone puts a comment on your blog, that's fine. No one's going to see that until you look at it and say, oh yeah, that's okay, I'm going to publish that. It can be a bit frustrating for the readers because they expect the comment to go live straight away. And so for that reason, you might want to turn it off. That's up to you. I always moderate my comments, but perhaps you won't instill the kind of vitriol in people that I might from time to time. The show word verification is for a CAPTCHA. And that's very important because you don't want comment spam on your blog. Because first of all, you'll be letting the spammers win, but also that could harm your reputation. So the CAPTCHA, you know, you see these like squished up words from time to time and ask you to type in what you see. Those are designed to be just readable by humans and just not readable by computers. So a bot looking at that would find it hard to decipher that code. So you want to turn that on so that at least you're not getting comment spam. Comment spam is where someone says something very generic like, oh, great blog, man, it's really, really interesting, you know, you're so cool. Why not come and look at my blog? And it has the URL. So it says nothing specific about your blog really. It could have been applied to any blog, and it has been applied to many blogs. And it's just a way to get their link out there, to try and get traffic. So you want to stop that. Mobile and email is kind of cool. It allows you to post to your blog from your mobile if you set it up. So imagine you're traveling the world and you're going to be in places where internet access might be troublesome, but you would be able to send text messages. Well, you could update your blog with your latest adventures by text if you set that up. You can also set up to use an email address, and if you put in some code word there, you end up with a super secret email address that no one knows but you, and any email sent to that address will automatically get published straight away to the blog. So it can be very handy. There was a time when you had phones that did email but didn't do internet, didn't do web. So you mightn't have had a web browser, but you could send an email. Or it was so slow that the web browsers didn't work well, but sending an email worked fine. I find the email one quite handy actually for some things. It's much easier to just fire off an email from your phone than it is to open up the browser and log in with your username and password and then go select the blog you want and then do new post and blah, blah, blah. So you could set that up if you want. That might be fun. But obviously you want to keep it secret. In the language and formatting, you want to set the language to English. So your blog needs to be in English and Blogger needs to know that. And you also need to set the time zone to Dublin or London or Lisbon. So by default, it's the time in California, which is Pacific time, and you want GMT +0. So Dublin would do there as an appropriate time. You can tweak the formatting there of the dates and stuff if you want, that's up to you. In search preferences, there's nothing we need to do today. And in other, there's nothing we need to do today, apart from down here at Google Analytics. We'll talk about Google Analytics at length in a later class. But when we do that, you'll get a code from Google that you'll plug into that part there. So just remember that's in other. So what I'd like you to do now is I'd like you to email me the URL of your blog. You can do that by clicking on View Blog. You'll see the actual URL of your blog. So I want you to email the URL of that to me, colin.manning@cit.ie. 1 L in Colin, 1 N, and Manning is MANNING. At cit.ie, not my CIT, just at cit.ie. And I'll add that to the list of the blogs that we have. And so you want to make a post just to see how it's working? Yes, sir. Colin.manning@cit.ie. I'll write it down there. So you want to send that there, colin.manning@cit.ie. So I'll send me the URL, yeah. So I'll add that to the list of the ones that I have, and you can make your first post. And later in the week, I will give you some very specific instructions about what you'll be posting every week.
Is it just one post a week we have to do?
That'll be the minimum, yeah. Yep.
Is there just whatever, or?
I'll give you details of that later in the week. Okay.